Good morning. We are on Yud Aleph Amud Beis, the third line. Yom Tegalacha Ziknei. The Mishnah had given, we're done with the Rebbe and Antoninus. Now back to the Mishnah. We're talking about one of the holidays that they have is the day that in which a person would, the Goyim had this blurius, which you've come across in the Gemara and other places. It was like a ponytail that they would shave their whole head and leave a ponytail. So we said on the Mishnah had said Yom Teglachas Ziknei, the day that he shaves his beard, and let me see the exact lashon of the Mishnah, and the day that he leaves over the Al Yom Teglachas Ziknei ublur yosei, the day that he shaves his beard ublur yosei, and this ponytail type of thing. So the Gemara asks now. The way it worked was the way they were able to have this service was that at a certain age they would shave everything off their head, their beard and their hair, and they would leave behind the ponytail. And then a year later they would shave off the ponytail. So the day that's a holiday, this is talking about a personal holiday, it's that part of the Mishnah, and is it referring to the day that they create this blurious by shaving off everything else? Or is it the day that they shave everything off together with this bluria? Do you have to? So which day are we referring to? Tashma the Tanya Travayu Yom Tegalacha Zikne v'Hanachas Bluriyose. We learned in a brisa both of them. Yom Tegalacha Zikne v'Hanachas Bluriyose. Yom Tegalacha Zikne v'Avaros Bluriyose. It mentions both of these occasions. They said another holiday, another non-Jewish holiday. So this brisa says it mentions both of them, that each one of them is a holiday. There's another additional holiday in Rome. They do it once every 70 years. I think the 70 years, some of the Mepharshim say, is a reference to the 70 years between Bayis Rishon and Bayis Sheni. So this is a holiday that they made to celebrate the feet of the Yidden. Mevi'in Adam, Shalom, what they would do is they would take a healthy person, Markivin I say al Adam Chiger, and place him on top of someone who was lame. And that person on top was a symbol of the Roman Empire, and the bottom person was a symbol of the Bnei Yisrael. Malvishan Oisai Big Day Adam Harishan. They would put on him the Big Day Adam Harishan. Either it means like a fig leaf, or it means Rashi says the chamudos, the Rishon Big Day chamudos shahayu le'esav. Esav got, Rashi says in Chumash that Esav had these sweet smelling, these clothing that had the smell of Gan Eden on them that Rachel gave to Yaakov when he went into Yitzchak to get the bracha. So the Romans had captured this Big Day Chamudas from the Yid, and then they would put it on this Sarah, this person who was representing Esav. Rabbi Shmuel was one of the Asari Haruge Malchus. He was very beautiful, and they had skinned him. So they took the skin and put it on this person who was representing the Romans. Betole betzavore miskel reish zuza de Pisa. They'll put a necklace made of 200 zuz of paz or Pisa, which I think is topaz. It's a valuable jewel. And they would put these enech, which we had mentioned before was the most valuable in our questions of which things is set, which precious stone is a setting for the other precious stone. We had a couple of block back. Enech was the most valuable one of those, and they would literally pave the streets with this. Machrizim lefon of sach kiri plaster. Rashi says sach is a lashon of cheshbon. Of kiri is a katzin. Rashi says, which is a leader. Plaster is in error. It's miscalculated. They're talking about Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov said he had the kates that he wanted to tell his sons, and they declared that the kates that Yaakov Avinu said is wrong. Achva demarna zaifana, and they said that the brother of our leader Esav, I mean, this is a reference to Yaakov, Zaifana, is a cheater. That means because he cheated Esav out of the Bechaira. The chami chami de loy chami, and someone who saw this, they said whoever gets to see this will see it, but anyone who didn't see it today, the next one's going to be 70 years later. It's unlikely that you're going to be around to see the next one. Maya hani l'rama baramisa. They said, what did it help this liar with his lying that they're talking about Yaakov Avinu, l'zayfana b'zayfanusa, with his cheating, u'mesayma b'hachi, v'ayla din kad yakum din. He said, it's terrible for us. Vei is a exclamation of woe. Woe is to him, meaning to us. Kad yakum din, when Yaakov is raised up, which is the eternal chant of the anti-Semite, that if Yidden are doing well, that is bad for everyone else. Amar Ravashi, Hachshilam PM l'Rishayim. These Rishayim, they tripped up in the way they expressed themselves. I Amru Zaifana Achva Demarna, had they said that he lied or he cheated the brother of our Lord, Kedika Army, would have been correct what they said. Hashid Army Demarna Zaifana, the way they said it is our Achva Demarna Zaifana, the brother of our Lord, is a Zayif, is a counterfeit. So what they really, if you cut it off, it sounds like the Marna Zaifana, our own master is a cheat. Marna Gufe Zaifanahu. They're saying that our master is a cheat. V'tanadidan my time l'chashav l'lahai. Why didn't we include this holiday in the list in the Mishnah? Since it's not every year, it's only once every 70 years, the Mishnah does not include such an intermittent holiday. Hani durumai. So these, our Mishnah listed the Roman holidays. Duparsoi mai. What are the Persian holidays? Mutradi, the Toriski, Muhornaki, Umoarin. These are the names of their holidays. Hani de Parsoi durumai. So now we've listed the Persian, the Romans, the Bavloi mai. What are the Babylonian, the Iraqi and Iraqi holidays? Muhornaki, which was also included by Persians, Va'aknisi, Bachanuni, and Ve'eser Ba'adar. Bachanuni sounds to me a little like Bacchanalia. Maybe that's where the word comes from. Ve'eser Ba'adar, the 10th day of Adar, they made a holiday. Amar Chanan bar Rav Chizda, Amar Rav, Amil Amar Chanan bar Rava. This is what Rav says. Amar Rav b'shem Rav. Chamisha batei avodas kechavim kavunim. There are 5. We were talking until now about holidays. There are 5 places of avodas kechavim that are kavua, that are set. Elohein, Beis Baal b'Bavel, the house of Baal in Bavel. Beis Nevoi b'Kursi, the house of Nevoi in Kursi. I guess that's Corsica. Tirata sheba Mafag, a place Tirata that's in Mafag. Tarifa sheba Ashkelon, the place Tarifa in Ashkelon. Nasra sheba Arabia, place Nazra in Saudi Arabia. Kiasar Avdimi Haisifu Aleim Yudrid sheba Ein Bechi, the marketplace in Ein Bechi, that was a place of gathering for Avodas Kechavim. Nadvacha sheba Akai, in the place Nadvacha, a place called Nadvacha in Akai. Ikdam in Nizbara sheba Akai. It's not Nadvacha, but it's Nizbara. Avdimi min Hardoi Masni Ibcha Yurid sheba Akai Nadvacha sheba Ein Bechi. He had the names of the places and the places where they were, the names of the Avodah Zara, I guess what you call them, their churches, he had them in the different places. Amr Rav Chanan bar Rav Chisda le Rav Chisda. My kavuin hein. Rav had said these are the bate midrashim kavuin. Amr Hachi Amr Avua de Imach. This is what the father of your mother said. He said, like his shver told me, my shver told me this. Kavuin hein la'olam tadira kula shasa palchilu. It means that the whole year these places are designated just for avodah zarah. They're not used for something else. Like the marketplace, it could be there's a marketplace where they'll occasionally do an avodah zarah. But these places are always Avodah Zara. The relevance is going to be, I think, for the next Mishnah, we say a place, a ear that is which has Avodas Kechavim, you're not allowed to go into that city because it looks under certain circumstances, which we'll discuss, but it's a maris ayin for Avodas Kechavim if a yid goes there. So I would imagine the same thing would hold true. A place that's kavua for Avodas Kechavim, like we know, there's an isser to go into a place of a church or a place where there's Avodas Kechavim. A church is not necessarily Avodas Kechavim. Amar Shmuel, B'goyla eina aiser ela aser eliyam idam belvad. In Galus, we don't have, like we said in the first Mishnah 3 days before, we've had the reference to this halacha earlier in the Gemara. Outside of Eretz Yisrael, the Isser is only on the day of the holiday, not the days before. I guess because the Avodah Zara in Eretz Yisrael, everything in Eretz Yisrael is heightened. They were more scrupulous in their Avodah Zara. Outside, they wouldn't 3 days before, they wouldn't be thinking about their Avodah Zara. In fact, is it also even on the day of the holiday? Rabbi Yehuda Sharle Rav Bruna Lizvuni Chamra, he allowed him to sell wine. Rav Gidel Lizvuni Chitin, and he allowed Rav Gidel to sell wheat. B'chagsa detai, in the holiday of the travelers, the nomads. So Shani Chagsa detai Deloy Kavir, even though they had this chag of these people who went around selling stuff, it's not a kavudika holiday, and therefore one is allowed to sell even that on that day. Mishnah. Ir sheyesh ba'avodas kechavim, an ear that has a avodas kechavim, meaning they're making a yamta for a holiday for the avodas kechavim. Chutz olam muter, a suburb which does not observe that holiday is mutter. We had this in the Gemara earlier. The question was, is there a chance that if you do business with them, it will end up in the city and being used, facilitating avodas kechavim? Hayachutzu avodas kechavim toicha mutter. Vice versa, if outside of the outskirts, in one suburb of the city, they're doing avodas kechavim, inside the city itself, it's mutter. Mahu leilech l'sham bizman shaderech miyuchedes lo'isem makom. But mahu leilech sham. What's the din? This is what I was talking about before. What's the din to go into the city on the day of the avodas kechavim, on the holiday? Meaning that it's a maris ayin. It looks like you're going there to do business with them, or even to be over avodas kechavim. So bizman shaderech miyuchedes lo'isem makom aser. If this is at the end of the road, the city, the road comes to an end there, then it's awesome. But if it's just possible he's going through there, so someone who sees him will not assume he's going to the city to Yovev Kechavim or to do business. He'll just assume he's passing through, so then it's mutter. We don't have this whole concept of a city that the road ends by that city, right? All our roads keep going. Pretty much. What does it mean outside of the city? How far does it have to be? So he says, it's like the marketplace of Aza, that it's very close to, I guess it's probably Gaza City. What we know is Gaza City, so they had a market right near it. So that market is considered to be separate from the city. Is the marketplace of Aza considered to be separate from Aza? I'm just saying it's Gaza City because Aza is not the current Gaza is much bigger than a city. It has numerous cities in it. It's more like a province. Probably the area got named after the city that was in it. Amalei, Amalei, so he said to him, Le'alachta le'tzur miyamecha, v'rois Yisrael, v'oivet kechavim, sheshaftu shtei kederis al gabi kira achas. Haven't you seen when you went to Tzur, which is a place that had both Yidden and Goyim, and you'd have a Yid and a Goy both putting their pots on the same stove. And the Chachamim were not chayish for them; they allowed it. So he says, just like the Chachamim allowed such close proximity, and they weren't worried. The Gemara is going to say four different shitas actually, about what the chash of that proximity is. But the Chacham were not chayshish for that. Similarly, they're not chayshish if you go to an outskirts of a city, close to a city with Arvei Avos Kechavim. Ma'ile chashu lehem chacham. What does it mean they were not chayshish for that? Amar Abaya, what was the potential chash? Mishum basa nevela. We're worried about basa nevela. Yid's not allowed to eat nevela. Goyim eat nevela. So we're worried that the guy the Chacham were not concerned that the Yid would stop watching, and in the meantime, the guy would throw in some nevela into his pot. So I'm not sure if this was like we're worried about him maliciously doing it or doing it by mistake. And obviously, you have to. I mean, this Gemara is not primarily about hilchas. That halachas of how you have to watch your food, Basush and Salam and Ayin. I assume this is a case where it follows all the halachas of Basush and Salam and Ayin. The Yid is watching it, but the Yid might not realize that he turned away. He gets distracted from it, and he doesn't realize that he turned away. Maybe the Chum will be misaken on it. They don't, and the Chum nevertheless allow them to be in such close proximity. Similarly, over here, we're not chayish for that that when someone goes and does their business, they're in the marketplace near Aza, that maybe they'll end up with money that came from an avodas kechavim. The Torah says, "Lo yidvak miyadchem u'um min acherim." You're not allowed to have any hana from something that was used for avodas kechavim. So maybe we're afraid that since this is very close to Aza, there'll be money coming for avodas kechavim, and now is going to take his money and buy something from this Yid. Kamash Malon, that no, it's a different place. One is Aza, and this is the marketplace of Aza, so we're not chayish for it, just because they're nearby. Rava says a different thing. Mishum bishuli avodas kechavim. Bishul Akum is also. So we're worried about that maybe the Yid is not going to be careful. Right, there's the Isra of Bishul Akum. Is either because we're worried about intermarriage, or we're worried about they'll end up, if they're mavasha, if a guy is allowed to be mavasha with food, it'll also end up putting in food. So we're worried about, maybe over here we'd also be worried about, we have two pots, one of a guy and one of a Yid. Even though the Yid lit the fire and is cooking the food, maybe he'll allow the guy, without thinking about it, the guy will light the fire one time, or he'll cook it. Similarly, the Chacham were not chayish about that they're going to end up doing business, they're going to do commerce with the Goyim on their holiday, like our Gemara, like our Masechta, our Mishnah, is worried about Yom Idam Shal Evdei Kechav. Rabbi Arula Amalei Chashalem Chacham Mishum Tzinura. The Chacham are not chayish because of splashing. Kavasa Hachanami LeChashalem Chacham Mishum Lifnei Yidein. I might have thought the Chacham would be chayish with two pots, one of a guy and one of a Yid, because something would splash from one into the other. And Rashi says if they splash from one to the other, the reason why they're not worried about it is because the Yid will be careful, first of all, and secondly, even if it does, it's going to be batal. So therefore, they're not chayish. One might have said that if you go to the So I might have thought that according to Rav Chanina, according to this pshat, the Isser is only there's only an Isser on the day of the Yom Tov. On the Yom Tov, it's Taka Asu, but during the 3 days before, it's Mutter. So Rav Chanina is not talking about the same case like our Mishnah, which said that you're mutter to do even when there is the actual day. He's saying that no, that the marketplace is considered to be part of the city, and therefore we're talking about a case not like the case of the Mishnah. And the discussion is whether you should be usher even on the 3 days before, because maybe you'll come to do it on the Yom Tov. So he says, just like we're not chayish that sinura, that it's going to splash from one to the other, because that's only takanas chachamim. So too over here, the takanas we're not going to make a takanas chachamim lifnei yideim, because on the Yom Tov itself. What's we said in the Mishnah? What's the din to go to this place on the holiday where they do avodas chachamim? And the Gemara said, the Mishnah said, it depends whether or not there is a egress from the town. If it's a town that it's the end of the road, then it's also because it's Marasai. But if there's a way to continue on your way, then there's no chash. Someone will say he's just passing through and not going to be or to do commerce there. You can't go into it. And you can't even go there, even if you're just passing through to go to another town. It's only also to go if that's the only way. But if it's not miyuchad to that place, then it's mutter. So the Chachamim our mission is like the Chachamim. Reb Meir is chaylik. Reb Meir says even we're worried about Maras Ayin, even if it just looks like you might be going in there, even though there's a possibility of doing something else. The Brisa continues, Yashav like kites b'fnei avodas kechavim. If someone gets a thorn in his foot and he's standing in front of he happens to be passing by avodas kechavim, lo yishchav yitlena. He shouldn't bend over and take out the thorn. Because it appears as an appearance of being bowing down to avodas kechavim, similar to the din that we just said that you can't go into the town where there is avodas kechavim because of Maras Ayin. So too, of course, when someone's picking out a thorn, he's not being avodas kechavim, but it's nira. It looks like it. And the Brisa continues, nira, but if it doesn't appear like it, mutter. It's mutter. The Gemara is going to explain what it means. Eino nira. I mean, the obvious thing would be eino nira means that there's no one around to see it. But the Gemara rejects that, and it says the Maininiri does it in a way that it doesn't look like he's bowing down. If his money fell down and got scattered on the ground in front of the Avodas Kechavim, he shouldn't bend down and take them, because it looks like he's banging down to Avodas Kechavim. But if it doesn't appear like that, it's mutter. If there's a spring of water in front of the Avodas Kechavim, lo yishcha v'yishte. He shouldn't bend down and drink from it. It looks like he's bending down. The main nira mutter, but if it doesn't appear like that, it's mutter. Partsufais hamakalchem mayim lekrachim. This is a thing that has nothing to do with this one still is. They have you see sometimes like in Italy, they have these statues that they have water coming out of the mouth. And they would bow, I guess by us, now the statues people don't bow down to, but in the olden days, those who themselves were representatives, those statues were of Mars and Venus and all the different, and Zeus, all the different Avodas Kechavim. So they would have water coming out of the mouths of the statues, and people would drink directly from the statue. So Patzufas Hamakalchem Mayim Lekrachim, they would often have these in cities. So a city that has such a statue, you shouldn't drink from the water coming out of the mouth of the statue. Because it looks like he's kissing the Avodas Kechavim. It's not recognizable he's getting a drink. A similar din, this is the one that has nothing to do with Avodas Kechavim, but it's just physically similar, even though it's not, the din has nothing to do with it. Yiniach piv al silon. Person shouldn't put his mouth on a pipe that's has flowing water flowing out of it. The yishta. Because of sakana, like the Gemara is going to explain, because it's sakana of they would have leeches that would have that would be in the water. You wouldn't see it, so you wait for the water to come out. And you check the water before you put it in your mouth. So if you teach your kids not to put their mouths on the water fountains in the park, you have a Gemara that you could point to if they say nothing's going to happen. I don't think anyone really wants to anyway. My einin nira. What does it mean that we say in all these things? If it's einin nira, then it's mutter. If you mean to say that no one sees, we know the familiar din that anything that's asur because of maras ayin, it's asur even in private, either because it's going to, if he does it in private, he'll come to do it in public, or because even when you think you're in private, it's not so private. Ela emo, so it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that no one, the line einin nira doesn't mean that no one sees. Ela emo einin nira k'mishtachav el avodas keichava. If it doesn't appear when he does it like he's bowing down, and Rashi explains, it means he's bowing to the side or with his back. He doesn't face the avodas keichava. When he does it, he faces away. Then it's mutter. Utricha. We need all these different cases. Itana kites. If we said the case of taking out a thorn from his foot, he could just walk a few feet away and take it off. So that's why that's awesome. If he has money scattered on the ground, he has to take it from there. He can't do it somewhere else. Maybe there's no isser in that. Maybe, going to someone else with a thorn in his foot, he's going to suffer while he's walking. Mais is just money. So maybe for the tsar he could do it, but not for the mais. Maybe both these there's no sakana. Of ma'ayin, the ikka sakana, it's dangerous. If a person is thirsty not to drink, then he could drink. Maybe he can't. Sricha. So this is very confusing, this last one. What does it mean, sakana? If it's pikuach nefashos, usually you can save your life. But this is avodas kechavim. It's one of the three things that a person is yehareg v'al. But this is not actually the actual isser of he's not being oived avodas kechavim. It's maras ayin of avodas kechavim. So would you say on that it overcomes pikuach nefashos? So you could say that they say maybe it's not talking about someone that's mamish and pikuach nefashos, but it's a chash that if he's thirsty and he doesn't get a drink, he'll get dehydrated, and then it could eventually lead to making him sick. Tzricha. That's why we need all the cases. So what do we need? The last case where we said if there's water coming out of the mouth of the avodas kechavim, he can't drink, he can't be menashik, drink because it will look like he's menashik. So come on, we wanted to say that other din that you can't drink from an open pipe. My sakana aluka. The sakana is aluka, is this possibility that he'll swallow an animal that will be dangerous to him. Okay, we'll stop over here. Hashem, continue tomorrow at 7:10. 7:15, I'm sorry, right? 7:15.
7:15. All right, thank you. Have a great day.
Have a great day.